So I'm going to ask you a different question, because a lot of our audience are people who are aspiring to be musicians. And sometimes as a musician, in the initial days, you only have, in India, few specific benchmarks.
Yeah.
Mainly Bollywood movies.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays the little singles, non-film singles. But you have taken a completely different path. And Grammy is something which everybody dreams or aspires to be. What is the process of a Grammy nomination? How does the entire system actually works?
So for me, the thing is that I can tell about what happened in my career. So when I started off my musical career, I started off doing commercials for television and radio. And in a very short span of time, I became quite successful at doing that. I was working with jingle production houses all over the world, in France, in Germany, in USA, in Singapore, in Japan, and creating a lot of this. And at the same time, I was also expressing myself through albums. And I did albums with a whole lot of international labels like Water Tower Records, Water Music Records, Universal Music, EMI, Sony BMG Poland, and Avatar Records and Buddha Bar. I was doing a whole lot of music for all of these people. So I became an independent musician on my 15th album. So my first 14 albums were with major labels. 15th album is when I became an independent musician. And my mentor was this gentleman who was a former vice president at Universal Music, a gentleman called Rod Lynham. He basically helped me navigate through my career, and when I told him that I wanted to turn into an independent musician, he set up distribution for me. He helped me set up my own label, got the legalities in place, and all of that stuff. Then my 16th album was my turning point. So that was the album which actually won the Grammy Award. It was an album called Winds of Samsara. And that particular album, it was the highest selling instrumental album in the world in 2014. And it was a very successful album. We won a whole lot of awards all over the world for that album. And that culminated with me getting the Grammy nomination for that album. So up until then, I did not know much about, about how the Grammys work. And then I started realizing how it works, that it's basically a membership process where people become voting members of the Academy. And to become a voting member, you have to be a person who is currently working within the music industry, and you have to prove that you're currently working and you're a creator within the music industry. Nobody knows how many voting members exist, but an educated guess would be around 20,000 all over the world. So it's a huge number. And these 20,000 people vote for the nominations and the winners every year. Now, it's sort of like a foolproof mechanism, simply because not everybody can vote for all the categories. So a voting member can only vote for a few categories, about 3 or 4 categories. So you're only going to vote for categories that you've got expertise in. So the only way, in my opinion, for an album to actually win a Grammy Award is that album needs to be very, very popular among the people who listen to that genre of music.
Okay.
So like, for example, I won in the New Age category. So among the New Age music listeners, the album has to be really, really popular, because a few of those people will be voting members and they'll end up voting for me. So that is the idea.
And how did life change after the first Grammy?
Now, of course, it changed quite a lot because previously, prior to the Grammy, some people would take me seriously, some people would not. Now, a lot more people started taking me seriously. And then we also discussed about the meeting that I had with Prime Minister Modi and the life-changing decision that I made after that. So life changed in a huge way. And then, of course, it's sad for me to say this, but I got more recognition in India only after I won the Grammy. Because once you get an international recognition,
obviously, yeah,
people home get to know you, especially since, and I don't complain about it because I was not a mainstream musician. I still am not. So it's always going to be a struggle for me, not being a mainstream musician. It's always going to be me constantly trying to prove myself and constantly trying to find a wider audience and people who would possibly buy tickets to my shows. This is always going to be a struggle, and I'm constantly struggling in that way. But the Grammy made that struggle a little easier, simply because it's easier for me to introduce myself to somebody, because people do take you seriously if you're a Grammy Award winner.